This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Deshaun Watson has a podcast on Lockerverse. And with that podcast, there have been some quotes pulled from it that have turned into some small controversy. Now, the biggest one of it all is the whole thing about scripted plays. It's kind of taken on a life of its own. It's even got asked at an introductory press conference for your offensive coordinator. So this is going to be my opportunity to sound off on that whole thing. Is it a big deal? Is it nothing? Are we completely just misunderstanding what the original point was in the quote? All of that stuff. Let's get into it. This is the clip that started the whole thing with these two were having a conversation. Cam Newton, Quincy Avery, not me, Quincy Avery, and Deshaun Watson were having a conversation about game management and game changers as a play style, not necessarily as a play tier. And Quincy Avery does ask what I think is a pretty good question to both Deshaun and Cam Newton. I'll let that play.
You guys, y'all think that maybe sometimes not being a game manager held you back because you both have tremendous ability to do things outside of schedule, and like just not playing on schedule might have hurt you in your career?
You go first, too.
I say for me, I think not necessarily in a full game, but like the first half of the game. Because you know, Cam, a lot of time, I'm not sure if your OCs did it, but like the first 15 plays, first 20 plays.
Already started.
Yeah, you know what that is. So you're trying to play within that. All right, this is where the ball usually go. You go throughout the week. You go throughout the different looks. All right, this, here. I never been a fan of that just because I know the other team's going to adjust quick and I got to adjust because they're not going to play me the same way like the other quarterback. They're not going to play me the same way like Brock Purdy. You feel me? They're not going to play me the same way like a Tua because I can use my legs, I can run, I do a lot more movement in the pocket, things like that. So, like, for me, I think, like, the first half, like, I'm trying to figure it out, and, like, I start off slow. But once that third and fourth quarter come around, now you just calling your best plays. You trying to make some shit work, and you got to make – your playmakers got to make plays, especially in that fourth quarter.
Now, I thought that was a really good answer, given the context that question was asked in, right? And – I'll get to what the reaction to that whole thing was that started a whole nother controversy. But I thought that was a pretty good answer given the context of the conversation. And the issue that I've had with the larger conversation about Deshaun saying like, hey, he's never been a fan of scripting plays is so much of the dialogue isn't about what was actually said and trying to break down what he was trying to say. It's more about how you want to use what he said to prove whatever point somebody wants to prove about the Browns, Kevin Stefanski, or Deshaun Watson externally. Now, my interpretation of this is he's explaining why he feels like scripted plays as a strategy doesn't work as well for him, especially when you rely on it more than what is usual because of his play style. He thinks that it's better for him, like the faster he can get to being himself and not having to play strictly in structure, he thinks that makes him more dynamic as a playmaker and a lot harder to defend. But if he's stuck in a script for like the first 15 plays, that might limit his ability to adjust to the adjustments that he knows are going to come, because you might script these plays during the week with the assumption that the opposing defense is going to do this because that's what they do when somebody like Brock Purdy runs this concept, or somebody like Dak Prescott runs that concept, or Kirk Cousins or Jared Goff. But when it's Deshaun running that concept, things are a little different. Teams are going to have a little bit more gravity in some areas and stay a little bit closer to the sticks because they know he can move, or maybe they're going to shade things. Like all of these things can be different for him than it would be. So I think what he is saying is he does not prefer scripted plays because it's not something that really fits his play style.
One piece of context I really do feel like got lost in this that I wasn't able to add in the original edit was he answered the question, is there times where you feel like you not being a game manager naturally with your play style, is that sometimes something that hurts you? And he said yes at the beginning of games when I'm running scripted plays. And then he explained why that is. And I think when you take out the context of it being a response to that specific question, things get messy unnecessarily. And I think that's exactly what happened here.
And I think that's a fair take. Now, that doesn't mean that he will never run scripted plays or that he's going to refuse to run scripted plays, or that he understands that scripted plays have a purpose in the playbook, have a purpose in the offense. I mean, the reason this thing kind of has taken a life of its own is the reaction to it.
I mean, I don't know. If that feels like it's a complaint about every coach he's played for.
Well, not just a
I don't
complaint.
know.
It's a public complaint.
Yeah.
Okay, so the thing that I think Deshaun took offense to, or at least it was clear in his response that he took offense to, was Jay Crawford basically saying, well, not Jay Crawford, but Adam the Bull and Jay Crawford saying that he was complaining about every offense that he was in. And then Jay Crawford adding the double down, all that, said it's a public complaint. I don't think this was a complaint, though, right? It was answering a question. The question was, do you feel like, is there times where you being a game changer, you being a game manager could have helped you? And he's saying, yeah, because they like to script the first 15 plays sometimes, or a lot of teams like to do that. And when I'm working in the script, I would like to be better at doing that, more comfortable doing that, because me personally, I'm more comfortable doing the other thing. Call it a complaint, I don't know. It's kind of a reach to me. Like, I see how people got there. I don't think it's ridiculous how people got to thinking it was a complaint. But if you took, and they're reacting to hearing the clip for the first time. Like, this is a first time reaction. So let me give them a little bit of a break here. But yeah, I can see where the disconnect was, because I think that was just an off the cuff reaction. And it wasn't, they didn't have the question included in that clip, right? They just got played the audio. So they don't know what the response was to. But also on another hand, man, like, these are all, like, especially Jay Crawford and I don't know if Adam the Bull considers himself a journalist, but these people who work in media, like, they should want to know a little bit more context before they start to just react to stuff. At least I try to make sure that if I'm going to react to something, I understand the context behind it. So I understand why they had the reaction they had, but also, I do feel like there should be some questions that you should be asking before you just start reacting in general. Like, I think we would all be better off if we just started asking some questions before we started reacting. All right, so let's move on to the response of the Adam the Bull response that Deshaun Watson had. This video is called "Deshaun Finally Addresses the Media."
I'm gonna rap by it and see it, but it was like, I think the dude's name was Adam the Bull. Like, he came out and saying, like, I was complaining about every coach, about the first 15. Look, I never said I was complaining about anybody. You can go to any coach that done coach me, any player that done play with me. Foe ain't gonna complain about nothing. I'm gonna put it all on Front Street and put it on the table. If I got something to say, I'm gonna speak it, and that go from coaches and all. I just said, me as a player, if you look at my career history, I've always gotten better the course of the games, the course of the seasons. That's just me, from college, from high school, regardless. So, like, that's what I was speaking on. I've never been a fan of the first 15. I'm not saying, I never sat here and been like, hey, coach, I don't want to do the first 15, just call random plays. No, I'm going to run the 15 and try to execute as best my ability. But for you to sit up here and say that I'm complaining when you ain't even spoke to me, or even you don't even know the situation behind what I'm saying, then, like, you can't sit here and say I'm complaining. I've never complained once.
I think people look
All right. So that was his response to that whole thing. I'm gonna be honest with you. This was stupid. There was so much more informative stuff, and I think both of these podcasts, that the fact that this was like the big takeaway for everybody, it kind of felt dumb to me. I don't know, maybe this has a bigger interest to you, but this whole drama to me kind of just felt dumb. It was basically he was answering a question. He got clipped out of context a little bit, not that much, but a little bit out of context. And they reacted to a clip. They said some things he didn't like. Now he responded to them based on what he saw from the clip. And we would all be better served, everybody involved in this, to just ask some questions before we just start reacting to shit. Just in general, everybody involved. If somebody says so, let's ask them, did they play the whole clip? Did they play the question? Let me see the whole thing. We should just ask some more questions before we really start reacting from it. That's what I like to do on here. I like to ask some questions before I react to stuff, right? I don't want to just be mad. Just being mad don't really do nothing. And I feel like there was some more interesting stuff in this interview than the whole 15 play thing, right? I think that's pretty basic. We all know Deshaun is more of an improviser. Not that he doesn't know what the play call is supposed to be. He's not improvising like Johnny Manziel, but he likes to make plays out of structure at times. And we've said it, like, he's not a rhythm and timing, quote unquote, quarterback. He doesn't play the game the way you would expect a Brock Purdy or Kirk Cousins to play the game. He's more of a play style that's similar, like Joe Burrow, CJ Stroud, Cam Newton, Josh Allen, where those guys, they like to do things based on what they see, how they figure out the defense as it develops, and try to make plays with their arms and their legs as well. Like, it's just, I think I don't understand how any of this is controversial. We knew that Deshaun Watson was not the type of quarterback that you script a million plays for when you traded for him. And him just saying that shouldn't shake the earth on fire. And I really think that there were better things to talk about in these interviews. So let's talk about those things. If you came for the drama, you came for the messy. Let's actually get to some of the football conversations that they had.
All right. So as we looking at it, what I'm seeing right now is, okay, so they're 3-by-2, but he's going to short motion Stephon Diggs, right? So short Stephon Diggs. Some miscommunication here already. I know that because look how John Allen was trying to aid Stephon, and he told him already. I was watching the game that he couldn't move. Okay, so boom. We got 3-by-2. We're at empty. So we're at empty.
Yeah.
Up top, he's locked. So that's man-to-man. Now think about everybody else is going to be running sail with the corner from whoever's the new X, right? So we're going to go sail. So number 10 is running vertical. The tight end is going to be running the sail, and then Stephon Diggs is going to be running the shallow cross.
We call it, but everyone has different names. It's a bracket coverage. So 3/2. Backside is just 4 quarters. It's 3/2 between the number 2 receiver and number 3 receiver. Like you said, the outside guy's man. So if the number 2 receiver go vertical, the nickel should take him. And then the safety basically can make a decision. Like some safeties will pill on the sail.
They're going to drive a number 3 and take the sail away, right?
Exactly. And like right now, even though the safety didn't even know he made a good play,
And it's crazy because he's in no man's land, though. His feet are stopped. Like, I understand why John Allen, and really depending on what he heard in the headset prior to this play. Like, if they're like, yo, let's look alive. We're on the 26. Like, don't feel bad if we got a chance to score. Like, go ahead and take a shot.
I would think Joe Brady was trying to get a matchup on number 32. And 32 is a hell of a ball player. But if you had to pick one thing, trying to cover in space. He can cover in space because he's athletic. You see him a couple of times this game covering Diggs and empty. But that's the key of this coverage. They're locked outside. You clear him out. The number 2 receiver is going to take 2, like on this play. He had the opportunity to hit it, but as you played it, the safety did kind of go back. Once the tight end wins leverage and he wins, it's basically it's like a pressure route. It's the sail route. You just throw it out there, he catches it up, he turns up, get pushed out of bounds at the 10. I think that's what he was doing. Josh probably was thinking of the big play. Like right here, of course, we can stop it. We can stop it. Like every Monday we go in there, we watch the tape. It's easy to sit here and stop it and be like, but that's how you learn. But at the same time, I think they were trying to understand. Joe Brady was trying to get the tight end and the Mike linebacker one-on-one. And the key is you try to take the highest percentage completion ball in a 2nd and 9. So you got another down. If you give it to Diggs and say he get tackled, he's going to get tackled at the 20. It's 3rd and 2. And the clock is running. If he might break it and turn it up and get inside the 10. You hit the tight end, it's a bang play, but he catches it and he's at the 15. You know what I'm saying? So, like, better chance of field goal, another opportunity, first down, or it's an opportunity to get a first down. You know, and I think, again, it goes back to what is the coach saying to the quarterback, you know, because sometimes I be sitting there like, fuck it, I'm about to try to deep ball too. You know what I'm saying?
Fuck it, I'm gonna let this bitch ride.
Yeah, you might throw it, but like, for me as a quarterback, I love.
In fact, I know that. I know last year, your first year in Cleveland, at the end of the year, just like, I'm going to take this shot. Like, I feel good about this. I'm going to take the shot. And we'll figure it out after that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I feel, because Kevin will let me know if things are green and when it's not green. Hey, we got points here. You know, we got points here. Let's try to, hey, we got a little win. So let's just try to get a little bit more. These are things Kevin's saying. Hey, we got a little win, so let's help hop out right here. When they say that, I know, okay, I might could take this one-on-one outside. Whoever it is, if it's Coop, Elijah, I could take this one-on-one. But I know if I just read out the just regular concept and just give it to the shallow or the check down, the running back, we a little bit closer, and that's going to help D-Hop. Like, we got points to tie it up to go in overtime. But let's try to win it, of course. But, like, we don't need to at the point. I can't remember how much time was left.
Yeah, and basically what he's talking about in that whole thing is just playing situational football and knowing what your options are versus what the situation dictates, right? And that's a tough situation where you can see going for it, and it was a big play, and you can make the argument that read was going to get the ball to where it needed to go, and you would have won the game off that throw. But he makes the argument that basically it's like, yeah, you could, but also it's a higher percentage that you could just get to 3rd and 2. It's a higher percentage that you can just get the ball to the 10 and give your kicker a really good chance to extend the game. You know, you got to play a balance of those percentages when the stakes are super high. Like, sometimes you got to take those shots because you need it. Sometimes you got to slow down and take the game with the game. I thought that was interesting to hear how he processes it and how he breaks it down. And again, like, everybody's going to be perfect on Monday once we get the result. But I think the process and hearing how he breaks it down is important, and understanding how he's going to go about things, hopefully, if he's out there healthy on the field on Sundays for the Cleveland Browns. All right. And the last clip that I have from his podcast is him talking about how rhythm is created. I think that this is interesting because it kind of gives you a better ideal of how momentum works in the NFL. It's something I've talked about
with the OC, getting there with your guys and just like, let's settle down. We can't win it all in one play, but like, if we keep stacking, our defense is going to play. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to have opportunities. And if we can just capitalize slowly but surely with a little bit more urgency, like, that's what we're going to do. Perfect example. When I played my last game this year against Baltimore, terrible first half, whatever people want to call, dealing with a broken shoulder, sprained ankle. It is what it is, no excuses. But, like, we came out second half. First half, we're trying to throw it down the field. We're trying to get the big plays. Second half, I'm just taking 5-yard pops. Boom, boom. Play action, hit a 20-yard pop here. And the next thing you know, you look up, you're 14 for 14, 150, a touchdown, and you beating the number 1 team in the NFL on the road, divisional game. Like, you just got to settle back in, and you can see that in Brock. He just settled in, and then once you start hitting the ball, start hitting the receiver's hands, and they catching it, that's where you get your rhythm as a quarterback, and that's what he did.
I think that's important to note, too, because so often when we talk about momentum in an NFL game, we act as if it's this magical thing that kind of just happens in a game. but momentum is energy. And how you create energy in football, in a game, in a sport, in anything, is when you execute well. And sometimes, in order to create some energy, you just have to lower the difficulty of execution, right? First half, the Browns couldn't carry any momentum. They couldn't really get any energy going on the offensive side of the ball because they were taking these giant shots that required a high level of difficulty to execute in. Think about it like this for all my guys out here who play fighting games, right? If you play fighting games, this will make sense. Now, I don't play that many, but I kind of understand some of the basic concepts. When you continue to hit combo after combo after combo, like, you know, you start with a little punch kick, then you start getting a little combo in there, you get your special meter to go up, right? And your special meter builds up, and now you're able to hit bigger combos. But what you can't do is start a game and try to hit the fattest combo that you have in your arsenal at the beginning because you don't have the energy in your meter to get it done. That's kind of how momentum works in the NFL game. You got to execute with some small stuff. That's why having a good run game, a good running back like Nick Chubb is more valuable than the numbers tell you. Because what Nick Chubb allows you to do is stay ahead of the sticks. What Nick Chubb allows you to do is execute, right? So you just hand the ball off to Nick Chubb, super small bar for execution. So he just, boom, he runs it. He gets 5 yards. All right, we feeling good. He runs it again. We get 5 more yards. Okay, we feeling good. You run. Now we in rhythm. Okay, now we going to run some play action off of that, dump it off, get 7 right here. Then we going to drop back straight, throw some stick, get 5 more here, and then get it downfield and get 20. And now we in rhythm. All because Nick Chubb got a couple good carries to start. But if you start the drive and you run the ball with somebody else, and they lose 2 yards, and then you get a penalty and you lose 5 more yards, and then you throw the ball and then somebody drops it, and then the energy's all off because you ain't got no juice in that meter. So finding ways to lower the bar for execution if your football team is important because that's how you create energy. And he's talking about that. Okay, we were playing Baltimore. We thought we'd get these deep shots. We couldn't execute on these deep shots. Come out for the second half, and we changed the game plan. Instead of trying to get momentum by getting some of these big plays because we know Baltimore is going to score, okay, let's trust our defense, and let's just quick pops, right? 5 yards here, 10 yards here, 5 yards here, 10 yards here, and get momentum that way. And then we can hit a big run, or we can hit a big throw here or there, and we can score that way. Because the thing that happened in that Baltimore game was they were hitting those 5-yard pops here, 5-yard pops there, and they were moving the ball, but it took a while. But when they needed to score quick, after they let Baltimore score, I believe in that fourth quarter, I remember saying the Browns need to score in like a minute or less in order to keep this game alive. When they need to score quick, they can do it because they were in rhythm. They had momentum because they had been executing all quarter. And now they have some juice left in that meter to kind of hit some of those big plays when they need it to happen. You look at how the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Baltimore Ravens. It was the same exact thing. Pat Mahomes wasn't giving you the big Pat Mahomes plays at the beginning of the game, right? It was just a little pat here, a little pat here, a little pat here, a little pat there, a little there. And then all of a sudden at the end of the game, he rears it back, he throws it downfield, and they were able to execute on that because they've been executing on it all game. It's just, think about it. Think about momentum not as this magical thing that happens in a football game, but something that has to be earned throughout the course of it. A play caller cannot just whisk up some momentum out of nowhere. It has to be developed. It has to be earned. You have to gain that momentum by executing plays. And sometimes you got to go to the jab strategy, right? Okay, we got to just land some jabs, little jab here, little jab here. Maybe you get across, and then that way you build up your meter. And then all of a sudden now you have the energy, you have the confidence, and you have the rhythm to be able to do what you need to do to win that battle. But that's the Deshaun Watson podcast verse. I thought honestly, the conversations about football got a lot more interesting once we got away from the opening scripted plays controversy. I don't think it's really that much of a controversy. I feel like this is just peak off season, making something out of nothing kind of stuff here. But yeah, that's my thoughts on this. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.